Let's learn how to write conditional statements using assembly in Solidity. We'll look at how to write if statements, switch statements, and then we'll look at some examples. To write an if condition inside assembly, you will type if, followed by some expression that evaluates to a number. If the number is greater than 0, then this condition means that it is true. If it is equal to 0, then this means that this condition is equal to false. And also, inside assembly, there is no else statement. Here we have an input x, and let's compare this x whether this is less than 10. So say less than, is x less than 10? If x is less than 10, then to this variable z, let's assign it to 99. Z is equal to 99. So what's going on here is if x is less than 10, then this part of the code will return a 1, and then to the variable z, we assign 99. However, if x is greater than or equal to 10, then this part of the code will evaluate to 0 or false. So we do not assign z to any value. Now notice that we don't have any else clause. Inside assembly, there is no else clause. If you wanted to handle the case where x is greater than or equal to 10, then we would need to write another if statement. Okay, so this is an example of an if inside assembly. The other conditional statement that we can use inside assembly is called switch. So I'll write the switch example over here. Again, we have an input x, and let's use a switch statement on this input. Say switch x. Let's say that if x is equal to 1, say case 1, then to this variable z, we assign 10. Z is equal to 10. Else, let's say if x is equal to 2, case 2, then we assign z equal to 20. And then for the rest of the case, we'll do a default. Default z to, let's say, this will be equal to 0. Next, I'm going to show you some examples of if statement and switch statement using assembly. So, for example, let's write a function that will return the minimum of x and y using assembly. So I'll type assembly. And for this example, I'm going to use the if statement. So inside here, I'll say if x is less than y, then to this output z, we'll assign the smaller number, which is x. Otherwise, again, there is no else statement. So first, let's assign z to y. Say z is equal to y. So notice that here, this is Solidity code. And inside here, this is the code for assembly. First, we assign the output z to y. And if x is less than y, then the output will be x. So this is an example of how to write min using assembly. Okay, next I'm going to show you an example of using the switch statement. Let's write a function that will return the maximum of x and y using assembly. So again, I'll type assembly, and this time we'll use the switch statement. So I'll type switch, and then I'll compare x and y. Is x greater than y? If x is greater than y, then this statement over here will return a 1. Otherwise, it will return a 0. So the two cases that we'll need to handle are case 1. So this is the case where x is greater than y. Then to the output z, we'll assign x. X is the greater of x and y. Otherwise, if this part of the code returns a 0, then this means that y is greater than or equal to x. So we'll assign y to the output z. Default z is equal to y. Okay, so that completes the function min and max. Let's try compiling this contract. I'll hit Ctrl S and the contract compiles. Let's deploy this contract, deploy the contract, and let's call the function min and max. What is the min of 1 and 2? Well, it's equal to 1. Okay, what is the max of 3 and 5? The max is 5.